23.7, actually, Professor Davis said, pulling me into a warm hug. I read about the acquisition in TechCrunch last month. Congratulations, Mia. CloudSync was brilliant. I knew it would succeed the moment you pitched it in my entrepreneurship seminar. The high school reunion held in the gymnasium, where I'd spent 4 years being invisible, had gone completely silent. At least our corner of it had. My brother Kevin stood frozen mid-sentence, his keys to his leased BMW 3 Series still dangling from his hand. He'd been explaining to our assembled family members why leasing was the smarter financial move. My mother's champagne flute tilted dangerously in her trembling hand. My father's face had gone from proud dad at reunion to completely blank in the span of 3 seconds. IT support? Professor Davis repeated, looking confused. Mia, you haven't worked in IT support since you graduated. You founded CloudSync 6 years ago. I smoothed down my cardigan, a comfortable, oversized thing. I'd gotten on sale at Target for $19.99, and smiled at my former computer science teacher. I did work help desk support for about 8 months after graduation. Then I started the company. You started a company? My mother managed, her voice barely audible over the reunion's background music. A cloud-based data synchronization platform for enterprise clients, I explained. It solved the problem of real-time data consistency across distributed systems. We had 347 corporate clients by the time Microsoft acquired us. Microsoft? Kevin's voice cracked. You sold a company to Microsoft? Last month, Professor Davis confirmed, pulling out his phone. It was all over the tech news. Microsoft acquires CloudSync for $23.7 million. Citing revolutionary approach to distributed data management, I have the article saved. I show it to my current students as an example of what's possible. He turned his phone around, showing the TechCrunch article with my photo professional headshot, hairstyled, wearing the blazer I'd bought specifically for press photos. I looked nothing like the girl in the Target cardigan standing in front of them now. My cousin Rachel leaned in to read the screen. Holy shit, that's actually you. Mia Chun, founder and CEO of CloudSync. Former CEO. I corrected. Part of the acquisition agreement was that I'd stay on for 6 months to ensure a smooth transition, but after that, I'm done. Microsoft has their own leadership team. My father found his voice. You've been running a company. For 6 years? Started it in my apartment with $15,000 in savings and a lot of caffeine, I said. Incorporated, built the prototype, pitched to investors. We raised $2.3 million in seed funding in year 2. Series A brought in another $8 million. By year 4, we were profitable and didn't need additional funding. Professor Davis was nodding enthusiastically. The elegant solution to the Byzantine general's problem in your architecture was what caught Microsoft's attention. That and your 99.99% uptime guarantee. Revolutionary work, Mia. I'm sorry, my mother interrupted, but I don't understand any of those words. What did you actually do? I created software that allows companies to keep their data synchronized across multiple servers in real time without conflicts or data loss. I simplified. Banks, hospitals, logistics companies, anyone who needs multiple systems to stay perfectly in sync. It's faster, more reliable, and more secure than existing solutions. And Microsoft paid you $23 million for this? Kevin asked, still clutching his BMW keys like a security blanket. $23.7 million, Professor Davis corrected. Though that's just the acquisition price. I assume there were retention bonuses and equity considerations? The total package was closer to $31 million with bonuses and stock options, I confirmed. But the $23.7 million was the initial payout, yes. My mother sat down heavily in the nearest chair. My father just stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. Rachel was reading more of the article. It says here you have 17 patents. 17, Mia, what the hell? We thought you just fixed computers. I did fix computers, I said. For 8 months. Then I identified a problem in the market, developed a solution, and built a business around it. It's not that complicated. Not that complicated. Kevin's laugh was sharp, bordering on hysterical. You sold a company for $31 million and you acting like you just got a promotion at Best Buy. Because the money doesn't change who I am, I said calmly. I'm still the same person I was yesterday. You just know more about my work now. Professor Davis was watching this exchange with barely concealed amusement. I take it your family didn't know about CloudSync? I mentioned it, I said. Several times. They weren't interested. That's not true, my mother protested. You never said you owned a company. I told you at Christmas 3 years ago that I'd started a software company. I interrupted. You said that's nice, honey, and asked if I could fix Dad's printer. I told you last Thanksgiving that we'd signed a major contract with a Fortune 500 client. You asked if that meant I'd get a raise? I tried to explain what the company did at Easter. Kevin changed the subject to talk about his new car lease. Each statement landed like a physical blow. I watched my family's faces as they tried to remember conversations they'd half listened to for years. I remember the printer thing, my father said weakly. You fixed it. You're good with computers. I have a master's degree in computer science from MIT, I said. I'm not just good with computers. I'm an expert in distributed systems architecture. There's a difference. MIT? My mother's voice was faint. You went to MIT?
Full scholarship, Professor Davis interjected.
Mia was one of the most talented students I've ever taught. I wrote her recommendation letter myself. She was accepted to MIT, Stanford, and Carnegie Mellon. Chose MIT for their distributed systems lab. Kevin was shaking his head. This doesn't make sense. You live in that shitty apartment. You drive a 10-year-old Honda. You buy clothes at Target. If you have all this money, I live in a perfectly adequate apartment that costs $1,200 a month, I interrupted. My Honda has 73,000 miles and runs perfectly. And I buy clothes at Target because they're comfortable and affordable. Why would I waste money on things I don't need? Because you can, he exploded. Because you're a millionaire. People with money don't live like this. He gestured at my outfit, the cardigan, jeans, and sneakers. People with old money do, Professor Davis observed. Real wealth is often invisible. It's the new rich who feel the need to perform their wealth. The dig wasn't subtle, and Kevin caught it. His face reddened as he looked down at his designer watch and expensive shoes all bought on credit, if I had to guess. My Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, had been quietly listening. Now she spoke up. Mia, sweetheart, why didn't you tell us this was so significant? We would have celebrated with you. Would you? I asked. Because I tried to share my milestones with you, every one of them. First client, first employee, first million in revenue, series of funding, profitability. I tried to include you in my journey. You just weren't interested because it didn't fit the narrative you'd created about me. What narrative? My mother demanded. That I'm the quiet, boring daughter who's good with computers but never really made anything of herself, I said. That Kevin is the successful one because he has a flashy car and works in sales. That I needed constant advice about money management and career development because I was clearly just treading water. We never said that, my father protested. You didn't have to say it, I replied. You showed it. Every family dinner where Kevin talked about his sales numbers and you hung on every word. While I tried to mention a new client and you zoned out. Every time you gave me unsolicited career advice despite the fact that I was building something you could uneven comprehend. Every concerned comment about my simple lifestyle when that simplicity was a choice, not a limitation. Rachel was still scrolling through articles on her phone. There's a whole interview with you in Forbes. Meet the 28-year-old who solved enterprise data synchronization. Mia, this is insane. Can I see that? My mother asked, reaching for the phone. As Rachel handed it over, Professor Davis said, Mia gave a guest lecture in my class last semester about the journey from concept to acquisition. My students were riveted. Several of them have since told me she inspired them to pursue entrepreneurship. You gave a lecture at the high school? My father asked. At MIT, Professor Davis corrected. I'm teaching a semester there as a visiting professor. Mia came to speak to my entrepreneurship students. She's something of a legend in the distributed systems community. My mother was reading the Forbes article, her hand over her mouth. This says you had 43 employees. You were responsible for 43 people? 47 by the time of the acquisition? I said. Great team. Most of them are staying on with Microsoft. I made sure their equity was protected in the deal. Equity? Kevin asked. Stock options, I explained. I gave equity to key employees. When the company was acquired, they got paid out too. Professor Davis smiled. That's what separates good founders from great ones. Mia understood that her success was built on her team's work. She made sure they were compensated fairly. How much did you make? Kevin asked bluntly. If the company sold for $31 million and you gave some to employees, what's your cut? I hesitated, then decided I was done minimizing myself. After employee payouts, taxes, and fees, I cleared $22.4 million personally. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the reunion noise around us seemed to fade away. $22 million, my father repeated numbly. Plus ongoing consulting fees from Microsoft for the next 3 years, I added. Another $400,000 annually. And I kept some Microsoft stock from the deal, which is appreciating nicely. My mother set down Rachel's phone with a trembling hand. I think I need to sit down. You are sitting down, Mom, I pointed out gently. Then I need to lie down, she amended. Mia, I don't even know what to say. You could say congratulations, Professor Davis suggested. That would be appropriate. Congratulations, my father said automatically, though his face was still stuck in shock. Kevin was pacing now, running his hands through his hair. This is crazy. This is actually crazy. My little sister is a multimillionaire and she's been living like a college student. I live comfortably within my means, I corrected. I'm just not ostentatious about it. Unlike some people who lease luxury cars they can't afford, he stopped pacing. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know you're $67,000 in debt, I said calmly. Credit cards, car lease, personal loans. You asked me for money 6 months ago. I gave you $5,000 to pay down your visa. You used it to lease a newer BM. His face went white. How did you know that? Because I can spot financial irresponsibility when I see it, I said. I've been watching you dig yourself deeper into debt while performing success for social media. It's exhausting to witness. Mia, my mother said sharply. That's enough. No, it's not, Aunt Linda interjected. Let her speak. For once, actually listen to what she's saying. I took a breath. I'm not trying to humiliate Kevin. I'm trying to make a point. You've all spent years treating me like I'm the one who needs help, the one who needs advice, the one who's not living up to my potential. Meanwhile, I've quietly built a successful company, secured my financial future, and made choices that align with my values. But because I don't perform my success the way you think I should, you assumed I was failing. We never thought you were failing, my mother protested weakly. You asked me last month if I considered going back to school to improve my job prospects, I reminded her. I have a master's from MIT and I just sold a company for $23.7 million. What exactly about my job prospects needs improving? She had no answer. Professor Davis checked his watch. I should mingle. But Mia, before I go, have you thought about what's next? Are you starting another company? I'm taking some time off first, I said, traveling. I'm going to Southeast Asia for 3 months. Then maybe I'll look at angel investing, helping other founders. I'm not ready to jump into another startup just yet. Well, when you are, let me know, he said. I have several promising students who could use a mentor. He shook my hand warmly. Proud of you, Mia. Always have been. Thank you, Professor Davis, I said, meaning it. For everything. You believed in me when I wasn't sure I believed in myself. After he left, my family and I stood in awkward silence. Around us, the reunion continued, people laughing, catching up, comparing notes on how life had treated them since graduation. Finally, Rachel spoke. So, Southeast Asia? That sounds amazing. Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, I confirmed. I've always wanted to go. Never had the time. Now I do. First class? Kevin asked, a hint of bitterness in his voice. Business class, I said. I'm practical, not extravagant. Though I did book some nice hotels. After 6 years of 80-hour weeks, I think I've earned it. My father cleared his throat. Mia, I owe you an apology. We all do. We should have paid more attention. Should have asked more questions. Should have believed in me, I finished. Yes, you should have. But you didn't, and I succeeded anyway. That says more about me than it does about you. That's harsh, my mother said, tears in her eyes. It's honest, I replied. And I'm done being anything else. I spent my whole life trying to make you proud by being quiet, easy, undemanding. I thought if I just worked hard enough, you'd eventually notice. But you never did. Not until someone else validated my worth. That's not fair, Kevin started. It's completely fair, Aunt Linda cut in. Mia's right. You've all taken her for granted for years. Treated her like background noise while putting Kevin on a pedestal. And for what? So he could lease cars he can't afford and rack up debt. Meanwhile, Mia actually built something real. I'm standing right here, Kevin said hotly. Then hear this, Linda replied. You need to get your shit together. Your little sister's a self-made millionaire who retired at 30. You're 32, drowning in debt, and still seeking mommy and daddy's approval. It's time to grow up. The truth of that statement hung in the air like smoke. I watched my brother's face cycle through anger, embarrassment, and finally something that might have been resignation. I'm sorry, he said quietly, not meeting my eyes. You're right, about all of it. I've been jealous. Of how easy everything seemed for you. How effortless. Easy. I repeated incredulously. Kevin, I worked 80-hour weeks for 6 years. I went months without a day off. I nearly had a breakdown in year 3 when we almost lost our biggest client. I sacrificed relationships, sleep, health, everything to build CloudSync. There was nothing easy about it, but you made it look easy, he said. You never complained. Never asked for help. Just quietly did the impossible. Because I knew no one would help me, I said. I knew I was on my own. So I figured it out. My mother was crying openly now. We failed you. As parents, we completely failed you. You didn't fail me, I said, surprised to find I meant it. You just didn't see me. And that's okay. I saw myself. I believed in myself. And I built something anyway. Can we do better? My father asked. Going forward. Can we actually be present for you? I considered the question carefully. You can try. But Dad, I do not need you to be present the way I needed it when I was building the company. That ship has sailed. I don't need your validation anymore. I don't need your approval. I built my success without it. Then what do you need from us?
He asked. Honesty, I said. No more pretending.
No more assumptions. No more comparing me to Kevin or treating me like the easy child who doesn't need attention. Just see me for who I actually am. I'd like that too, Kevin said unexpectedly. The honesty part. I'm tired of pretending I have my shit together when I clearly don't. I looked at my brother, really looked at him. Underneath the designer clothes and the leased car and the social media performance, he looked exhausted. You want honest advice? I asked. He nodded. File for bankruptcy if you need to. Ditch the BMW, get a reliable used car. Move into a cheaper apartment. Cut up your credit cards. Build actual skills instead of chasing commissions. And stop measuring your worth by how successfully you can fake affluence. He absorbed this, then nodded slowly. Okay. I repeated, surprised. Okay, he confirmed. You're right. All of it. I'm a mess. I've been a mess. And watching you succeed quietly while I failed loudly has been killing me. You're not failing, I said, softer now. You're just lost. There's a difference. Lost can be fixed. My mother reached for both of us, pulling us into an awkward group hug. My babies. I'm so proud of both of you. And I'm sorry I didn't show it better. Show it now, I said. Going forward. Actually show it. The rest of the reunion passed in a blur. Word spread about my acquisition, and suddenly former classmates who'd barely spoken to me in high school wanted to reconnect. I fielded questions about the company, the sale, what was next. Through it all, my family watched with new eyes, seeing me, perhaps for the first time, as I actually was. Not quiet, boring Mia who fixed computers, but Mia Chan, founder, innovator, millionaire, a woman who'd built an empire so quietly that even her own family had missed it. Driving home in my 10-year-old Honda, which I would continue driving because it ran perfectly and there was no logical reason to replace it, I thought about the look on Professor Davis's face when he decongratulated me. Pride, pure, uncomplicated pride. That's what I'd been seeking from my family for years. But I'd found something better, pride in myself. Built on my own accomplishments, my own terms, my own quiet revolution. The $22.4 million in my bank account was real. The Microsoft acquisition was real. The 3 months in Southeast Asia I was about to take was real. And finally, after years of being invisible, I was real to my family too, not because I'd changed, but because they'd finally opened their eyes. And that, I thought as I pulled into my modest apartment complex, was worth more than any acquisition price. Almost.